back in 1990, they actually passed a bond measure to support parks, and they should be very proud that each person in Gresham who voted for that is a part of this park.
Sweetbriar Park was the park where we played baseball or kickball or soccer or wiffle ball. It's where we skinned our knees and we played together. It was an opportunity for community members and volunteer coaches and everybody to come together. So it was unique, special place.
You know, the biggest payoff that I look for is a consistent, high-quality experience for our kids, where kids can look back on it fondly and remember it.
I'm very proud of the changes and implementations that have been made for seniors. When you were talking about parks and trails and all of that, it would be really nice to have something that's welcoming to seniors.
In 1990, Gresham voters gave future generations a gift. That year, they passed a $10 million open spaces bond measure. The measure and a smaller 1988 parks bond raised local property taxes and leveraged regional and federal funds to directly acquire and protect over 600 acres of parkland and open space in Gresham. Acquisitions included the forested slopes of Gresham Butte that overlooked the city, Graydon Sports Park, and Nadaka Open Space. The first of its kind in the region, Gresham's open space bond measure inspired other similar park and open space measures throughout the region.
The more dense the cities are, the more important it is to have places where people can go sit under a tree and read, if nothing else.
It wouldn't hurt to have a lot more parks to have families come together and just enjoy their time together.
And make accessible to low-income people, especially in this area.
We need to stay engaged and continue to be engaged through these projects and through these programs, because it's only one thing to build something and leave it, but it's another thing to build something and run and do programming with it.
If you have systems, if you have things in place that allow for youth places after school, if you have a coach that can make sure the kid's getting an A and making sure he's graduating from high school on time with honors, I think it helps everybody out. And whatever we can do, I think we should do. That's reasonable within cost, obviously, but also intentional about making programs accessible for all ages that really serves this community.
In recent years, however, the story of East County parks has been one of neglect and divestment. In Gresham, Troutdale, Fairview, and Wood Village, local elected officials have faced tough budget cuts and have often chose to fund police and fire while cutting local funding for parks and recreation. Voters have had fewer or less compelling opportunities to vote for local parks funding. As a result, the total annual spending on parks and recreation in East County has fallen by almost 20% since 2005. Meanwhile, East County's population has continued to grow faster than the region as a whole, resulting in an almost 30% decline in per capita park spending in the same period. Consequently, in 2015, East County had among the lowest per capita local parks investment in the Portland metropolitan region.
And so far in East County, these programs are decentralized or disorganized, and even in some school districts, they don't even exist. They said, we have no after-school recreation programs for our kids.
There is no sustainable funding for parks in East County. The city of Troutdale, the city of Fairview, the city of Wood Village, they're all suffering from the same thing, and that is a shortage of money. And without a way to fund these activities, there won't be any.
Kids really don't have anything to do at all. So if they're not given something to do in a positive place, then they're going to find something to do anywhere, whether it's positive or negative or sketchy or it's safe.
The resources that we have are very limited, unfortunately. One really has to dig deep to find resources to bring positive things to a park, and it's something that is very unfortunate, but it's a reality.
The restorative parts of nature and parks critical, and especially today.
Research indicates younger, more diverse communities tend to use public parks more. East County's population isn't just growing faster than the Portland metropolitan region as a whole, it is also growing more diverse while remaining youthful. People of color increased in East County from 7.5% of the population in 1990 to almost 30% in 2015. The Latino population alone grew from only 3.4% in 1990 to 18% in 2016. East County has also experienced a dramatic increase in Slavic heritage, East Asian, and African immigrants. These trends have kept East County's population young relative to Oregon's aging population. Children have consistently made up between 25 to 35% of East County's population since the 1990s. All of these trends suggest even greater demand for quality local parks and recreation, precisely as funding has been shrinking.
Nothing but apartment complexes. Those are people that don't have playgrounds, they don't have yards, they don't have an opportunity to grow vegetables or anything like that. So parks are a critical part of what is going on in Gresham and why we need to develop them more, to provide programs for low income in particular.
The demographics are changing drastically. We have a lot of people moving to the east due to housing issues. We have a lot of immigrant refugees coming. But not only do they need affordable housing, they need sustainable parks and sustainable areas in where the families, the kids of the kids can go and have fun and be able to just not able to have a stress day and be able to just relax in the park. And unfortunately, a lot of these parks are still being developed.
And I know, as I've talked with police officers and other folks, that if you don't have an outlet for youth to recreate or interact or reach higher or to stay out of trouble, they will oftentimes resort to crime or get into delinquency. Where do we want to spend our dollars? Should they be implemented in better parks facilities and better systems to make sure that kids and youth have access? Or are we going to use it at the back end in incarceration and in jail and in parole?
But there are glimmers of hope for East County's parks and the communities. Despite years of divestment in the parks and recreational system, most East County residents, like most Oregonians, still see access to nature and outdoor recreation as central to their way of life. A growing movement of residents is getting engaged in the stewardship of their local parks, trying to provide programming for youth and urging elected officials to reinvest in a more vibrant local park system. Beginning in 2007, neighbors began cleaning up garbage at Nadaka Open Space, which had remained fenced with limited public access since the city of Gresham purchased it in 1995 with voter-approved funds. Over the next 8 years, neighbors lobbied City Council to take down the fence and move forward with plans for a neighborhood park. They wrote grants to Metro, East Multnomah Soil and Water Conservation District, and Oregon State Parks, while leveraging community donations and volunteers. After years of hard work and dedication, the new Nadaka Nature Park and Garden opened in 2015. The new neighborhood park features the city's only nature-based play area and the largest community garden, both within walking distance of the park-deficient Rockwood Town Center.
The community was involved in this process right from the very beginning, telling us what they'd like to see in the neighborhood. Then we started having meetings about the vision that we saw, what came out of those public meetings, which was a place for people to grow food. There was no place close by, and a picnic shelter for people to have gatherings, and then this wonderful nature-based play area. It's a wide variety of things that this park furnishes to the community, not only a gathering space, grow food, jobs. I kind of think we've done it all here.
And Nadaka was a big step too, because, you know, I remember when here it would not be that accessible and wasn't that welcoming to a lot of the community. But now they've transformed it into a really welcoming environment and great access for both children and adults.
We need green spaces everywhere, and it's supposed to be accessible, especially for people with disability. See, in Nadaka Park, they did good job. They put these paved trails.
The long-term benefit of investing in places like Nadaka is that it gives a space for the community to come together, is very important.
In In the summer of 2014, 21-year-old Rockwood resident Ricky Ruiz began spearheading an ambitious effort to raise the funds necessary to install a new 28,000 square foot futsal court at Vance Park along Southeast 182nd. After mobilizing dozens of volunteers, elected officials, business sponsors, and the Portland Timbers, the new futsal court opened to the public in September 2015. Since then, Ricky has moved on to help build a second futsal court in nearby Davis Park, with the goal of making Gresham a destination for futsal players in the region.
This specific location has been fenced out, prohibited from the use. What can we do to not have kids jump the fence, but rather have them just go through the door and play? In a matter of 11 months, we were able to fundraise over $100,000 for this project. And the community, since day one, they were very supportive, and they showed a lot of interest in this, and they saw the need, and they saw that this was a necessary addition, a necessary asset for this community. A lot of the meetings that we had, elementary kids, middle school kids came out and listened. And for them, it's something that we want to engrave in their minds, is like, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how you look like, as long as, it's important to know that you have a voice, and it's important to know that the things that you want to see happen should be expressed loudly.
A 2015 Nadaka community survey found that 68% of West Gresham residents would pay an additional $2.50 a month to improve parks and natural areas in their community. This finding is consistent with previous polls demonstrating community support for new investments in parks.
What every park in the city of Gresham could be like. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful to have the activities, the programming, the food, all these things in every single park in the city of Gresham? What a dream, what a vision.
Parks are the heartbeat of the community.
Coming together didn't only consist of people of my race and my color. It consists of people from different races and different ethnicities that came together for the same cause.
I view parks and art and education as strategic investments.
A new, young, diverse community is emerging in East County, while not yet fully engaged in the local government decisions that impact their lives. This new community will determine whether the next generation will benefit from the rich sense of place, healthy living, and civic connectedness of a robust and adequately supported parks and recreation system. Realizing the benefits of East County's parks for people, for the community, and for the future will take leaders willing to listen to the community's needs, but also willing to bring people together behind an inclusive vision. It will also take more resources, wisely, efficiently, and equitably invested. Above all, it will take community advocates to challenge and support bold leadership.
I don't really know how to fix parks without the voice of the community involved.
You need to talk to the people that are living around that area. So I would say first talk to the people that are living there, and then kind of figure out what kind of things that they want first.
We have to have a generation follow us and learn and have the love for parks that so many of us do. It's critical that we get young people involved in loving nature and parks.
What do we want to be regional, aspirational? Having conversations about the 21st century is essential.
Because at the fundamental level, we're a community, it takes a village, and working together to solve these crises.
We need to seriously consider a parks district in East County. To build a parks district like Tualatin or other cities have. The Springwater Parks and Community Group has been working on this idea. The vision is very exciting of what can we do in East Multnomah County.
I think great things are still are yet to come. It's just the beginning.
But you have to do that. You have to have a voice, because otherwise you get lost in the shuffle.
I'm afraid of inaction, and I'm afraid of leaving the future worse off as a result of inaction. What kind of future do we want to have? And what we have to do to ensure that. And I think East County is good enough and is strong enough to have these difficult conversations. In the long term, we'll be better as a region, we'll be better as a community, and I think as a state. And that's vitally important. I mean, we at the end of the day, we know it takes a village. And that village has to be talking with one another, working with one another, and teaching one another.